episode of Head to Head Sports. I'm your host, Brian Parker, along with my co-host. Oh, don't see my co-host, Mr. Randall Hargrove. May not been able to attend. Let me just make sure he did not send me any messages. No, he did not. So he may not be able to attend or maybe running behind, but we will keep an eye out for Randall. Well, y'all, it has been another 6 month run on Head to Head Sports. Uh, Man, we started our first sports show in August of 2020, and man, every season it's like man, a weekly show coming talking to you guys about sports and everything else, and uh, it's pretty cool. So we started this one back in August last year, and except for a few days that we had to miss, whether it was because of the holidays or some conflicts in scheduling. Been here pretty much the entire time, and definitely, and told you guys that we would be here all the way through, up to and through Super Bowl 59. We certainly did that. Um, Man, it has been absolutely. There he is. It's been absolutely crazy because we have completed another season, and the good news is we'll be back next season for season.
We'll be back.
Godly, is it going to be season 5? I think so. Wow, at least maybe 2020, 21, 22, 23, 4, season 6.
That's what I was thinking. I thought it would be 6. Yeah.
Yeah, seasons.
Good evening, man. What's going on?
How you doing, man?
As you can
As
see,
you can see,
I love my job, but every now and then it requires me to be out and about. So I got an emergency situation going on, but I'm present and accounted for.
Very nice. Okay, okay. How are you, sir?
Otherwise doing well, man. Had a little bit of a bout with the flu, but over that, I'm trying to get my excuse me, trying to get my voice back now because we got some dates coming up.
Okay.
So got to be clear singing again.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you gotta get that singing voice right. So, well,
Yeah.
before I get into the actual game on Sunday, just wanted to tighten up. This will be a shorter show too, anyway, just because there was only really one game played, and even though the NFL, the good thing about the NFL is that even after the Super Bowl, there's so many other things that are going on. You know, March 15th, beginning of free agency, uh, coaching hires are now complete as far as head coaches and things like that. But you'll still see some coordinators and things like that move around in the off season. Like I said, free agency starts. You'll start to see some teams jump on free agency. You'll see some teams let other people go and make them June 1st designations for salary cap reasons, and we'll talk about one of the biggest ones that seems like it's going to be, and figure out what's going to happen with him. And then it leads all the way to the NFL draft. And now that all 32 teams order has been made, we were only really waiting for the last two. It was going to either go 31 or 32 for the Chiefs and the Eagles, but all of that great stuff. So NFL honors was last week, last Thursday, and we had our forecast, and it kind of went the way that we thought. At least with the MVP, they ended up giving it to Josh Allen, even though he wasn't the first team All Pro. Even though you could honestly look at the stats and say that Lamar Jackson actually had a better stats in the fact that he only threw 4 interceptions and over 4,000 yards. Um,
Mark Jackson had a far better uh, uh, had a far better table of contents than Mr. Josh Allen. And I'm a fan of Josh Allen. I like him, but just calling a spade a spade. I mean,
now,
Lamar Jackson's body work
do
was
you
very
do
good.
you think it was more of Lamar exhaustion than anything? People were like, "Man, we just can't keep giving this kid the award every single year, even if he technically earned it or deserved it."
I do think a lot of that. There's some of the guys that you can argue could win like multiple awards. They could win 2 awards. Like Saquon Barkley, he could have won 2 awards, but of course they're not gonna
Yes,
give him 2. Yeah.
right, right. No, and we kind of both said that. Like, yeah, they really should give it to Saquon just because of the kind of year he had, but because it's always going to a quarterback for the most part, it was most likely going to go to a quarterback. And then what we ended up saying, which exactly happened, was then when it came to the NFL Offensive Player of the Year, they were going to give it to him, and that's exactly
Yep.
what they did. They went to give it to
That's
him.
what happened.
Anthony says it's not about stats; it's more to it. Um, what's the meaning of MVP? Well, to me, Anthony, but see, here's what makes MVP murky because the whole idea of is it MVP of the league or is it MVP of your team? If
Yeah.
if you ask who is the MVP of the Buffalo Bills, there's no question it's Josh Allen.
Yeah.
If you ask who the MVP of the Philadelphia Eagles is, there's no question it's Saquon Barkley.
Mhm.
But if you ask me who's the MVP of the LA Rams, some people may say it was Jared Verse. Um, Puka and Cooper Cup were in and out. So some people may say it was the defense. It depends on how you categorize MVP. And I think the question you ask needs to be reevaluated more than anything. So when you say it's more to it than stats, well, what kind of things do you think should be involved in what determines the MVP? Now, that's why you end up with a lot of different candidates for MVP, and then you start out with 5 finalists, and then you have your eventual winner because in any light or any angle that you look at it, most of the time, any of those 5 would have a legitimate claim at winning the award. It shouldn't come down to one of those 5 you go, "Oh, I couldn't even possibly see this guy being the MVP." To my understanding, it's the MVP of the league. Um, I don't see Josh Allen as the MVP of the league. Now, most people are going to say, well, Josh got it over Lamar because Lamar had more weapons, perceived weapons than Josh Allen. Josh Allen was able to make this team move more with less. There were higher expectations for the Ravens than for the Bills. Those would be legitimate reasons of separation. If it came down to the two, and then somebody came back to me, at least ran, and said, "Well, I think because going into the season with some players off the defense gone, without Stephon Diggs there, it seemed like and even when we looked at the beginning of the season and thought that the Jets were going to put themselves in a position to be at the top of their division, and when we thought that Miami might do something and things like that, it really looked like the Bills would be locked into 3 unless the Patriots did something extraordinary. So in that light, the fact that they still won the division anyway without the perceived weapons, like when it got announced that Derrick Henry was going to the Ravens, first thing you said was they went in the division, just because of that upgrade. So I do understand that. And Anthony does say I think Lamar didn't get it because Derrick Henry is on the team. I mean, that's fair. I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm not upset that Josh got it. Me personally, I just think when you look at their head-to-head stats, I think you could even say though that Lamar gave up running and having to be everything and actually became more settled in as a pocket passer. And that's a developmental thing too. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's just how you look at it.
This whole thing is like to me just so subjective, man. And I've heard the comments. I don't know if it was you or or someone else online that just said murky waters, but I mean it's just very murky
It is.
waters when it comes to stuff like this.
Mhm.
Even with the Hall of Fame voting, I think is like very murky waters. When you look at Luke
Oh,
Kuechly, who gets absolutely left out and dissed off the first ballot Hall of Famer. Awards. To me, when you're talking Hall of Fame candidates, you want to put in the very best of the position, right? Um, for 7 years or 8 years, however long Luke played, and I understand it wasn't a long career, but he was the very best at his position, middle linebacker. There was nobody better. He dominated. We're talking coverage linebacker. We're talking tackling machine. We're talking calling out plays. There was no other linebacker that was above Luke Kuechly. And, again, here comes the murky waters and the subjectivity of he didn't play long enough in order to be considered for Hall of Fame material. But
or
are we
at
talking
least
about the
first
very
ballot.
best athletes in there? Or are we not talking about the very best athletes in there? What is it? So even that's like super subjective and murky waters.
That's a good one. That's a good. And yeah, you got to sit there and say, okay, but he played 7 years. How many years did Barry Sanders play?
Same,
Wasn't it
and
like 8 or 9? He didn't play no 10.
same with Sterling Sharp. I mean, Sterling Sharp, his career was not that long either. It got cut short by injury. And I know he waited a while to get in, but still, I mean, come on.
Yep. We'll look at the ones that were finalists who didn't make the class and kind of look at some of those because yeah, Luke Kuechly is one of the glaring ones. There's two other ones, or actually a couple of other ones that pop up off the list that feel the same way. So, but just looking at MVP though, Lamar got MVP. Saquon got Offensive Player of the Year. We pretty much figured that was going to be how that was going to shake out at the end of the day. Coach of the Year was interesting. Um, it ended up being Kevin O'Connell for the Minnesota Vikings,
I think I
which
called him out.
I
I think that was one of my candidates.
yeah, you did, because it was then Dan Campbell was in second place voting. Then for some reason Andy Reid, Sean Payton, and then Dan Quinn. I thought Dan Quinn was going to get more votes than he actually did because he took a team that had not been to the NFC Championship game in 19 years with a rookie quarterback. Um, I mean, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing what he was able to do with
Yeah.
that team. I understand the Kevin O'Connell thing, and I would have understood it more had Sam Darnold actually ended up with Comeback Player of the Year. But they gave that to Joe Burrow. That one
Yeah.
made me scratch my head a little bit. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't
These
get the
make me
Joe
scratch my
Burrow.
head. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is why
that
I
one.
don't pay the odds too much mind.
That one really got me. I mean, it was him, Sam Darnold, J.K. Dobbins. J.K. I understand. J.K. came back from a horrific injury. I think he suffered when he was with the Ravens before he ended up over to the Chargers. But then he even got hurt with the Chargers. Cornerback Christian Gonzalez with the Patriots, and then Bills safety Damar Hamlin. But I just figured because of what the full body of work that was Sam Darnold for the 2024 season, not the last two games when um, the opponents got harder, the lights got brighter, the stakes on the line were heavier than he has ever in his whole career had to deal with. Saw him kind of buckle at the end, but you still can't put away those first 15 games of the season and not go, yo, when have we ever seen when have we ever seen Sam Darnold do this? And number two, how many people like Randall were waiting even after 3 games for the shoe to drop and go, no, I'm still waiting for the real Sam to show up. And whoever we perceived the real Sam to be never did. Um, hell, I would have even thrown Baker Mayfield in there before I would have thrown Joe Burrow in there.
Yeah.
Because both of them were basically regulated to the scrap heap of bust in the NFL that actually showed that they could be a starter on a team uh, or a specific team. I ain't gonna say on any and every team, but on their respective teams, they made the most of their opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, just the whole thing is just so subjective, and the criteria for winning these things is just, who knows? It's all over the place. So, um, congratulations to the guys that won it, but it's just
Anthony,
another award.
yeah, that is crazy. Now, Anthony did say nope, that award should have went to Dan Quinn, and then he also asked, "So is Joe Burrow going to win that award every year?" Why? Because we already know he's going to get hurt and then end up throwing for a bunch of yards. I would hope not. That would be kind of sucky, but we will see. It's a good question. You also had let me see. You had let's see, we did coach of the year. Defensive rookie of the year. Wasn't really surprised. It ended up being Jared Verse. It could have been one of my Eagles as well, but he beat out Cooper DeJean, who had a good showing in the Super Bowl. Quinyon Mitchell, he was out. Then Dolphins edge rusher Chop Robinson, and then Rams Braden Fisk. So Verse, I think, definitely deserved it. I mean, he was pretty stout guy, and I think his personality just kind of pushed it over the edge because he's got one of those personalities. But the thing about him is he definitely backs it up when he's on the field. So um, you have to account for that man when you're playing against the Rams. You need to know where he is on every play.
Definitely that. Definitely that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you had, let's see, we already said comeback player, offensive, defensive player of the year was Patrick Surtain. A little surprised with that one. Not like too crazy, but when you looked at the fact that he was going against TJ Watt, when you look at the fact that he was going against Myles Garrett, Zach Bond, who also had a nice showing in the Super Bowl, and then Bengals Trey Hendrickson, I thought that was a little um, interesting. I mean, did he have a good season? Absolutely, no doubt. On a team that people didn't expect a lot from, because again, they hadn't had a lot of success lately. They had just gotten rid of Russell Wilson, and they were turning to Bo Nix, and there was really no uh, expectations really that what Nix would or wouldn't be able to do. It was kind of a wait and see. But Surtain actually helped that Broncos defense. And we weren't really concerned about the defense going into the season to begin with. It was really the offense and what Bo Nix would be able to do as quarterback.
Yeah, and to me, just personal. It's hard for me to give defensive player of the year to a cornerback unless that cornerback is like
Shut down.
significantly shutting down and changing the game with his interceptions. Yeah, Surtain could have a lot of interceptions, but
Yeah,
it's not like affecting the game like a TJ Watt or even a Myles Garrett does affect the game. So,
right. This ain't Darrell Reeves
right.
where you got where you got Reeves Island where people are like, our game plan is to not even throw on any side that he's on. Did people go into a game against Denver going, wait a minute, Surtain is on that side, let's not even try it?
No,
But I bet you every team knew where TJ Watt was. I bet you every team knew where Myles Garrett was.
exactly. And that's why it's hard for
And
me to give it to a cornerback.
they scheme that way. Mhm. Yeah, no, I agree. Absolutely. Well, I think the offensive rookie of the year wasn't really much of a surprise. It ended up being Jaden Daniels. He did beat out. He narrowly missed out on a unanimous win because Brock Bowers ended up getting one of the 50 votes. And Brock Bowers is the amazing tight end for the Las Vegas Raiders that had a wonderful season.
Derek.
Oh, even though he had up and down quarterback play. He didn't know if it was going to be Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew from one day to the next, and was still able to shine as a tight end. So that tells me if the Raiders really fix and address and fix their quarterback issue, Brock Bowers season 2 may really jump off.
Definitely. I mean, that guy's a beast. Like I said, he's the new Travis Kelce at the position. It's no longer about Travis Kelce. It's now about the Brock Bowers show.
Hmm. Yeah, that's going to be a real interesting one to see. He's already propelled himself into top tight end talk as a rookie. So that will be interesting to see how he goes from there. Brand, you brought up the Luke Kuechly being a snub. I know that you saw a lot of talk about another snub, and that would have been one Eli Manning that has won 2
Yeah.
Super Bowls, but still was not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah. Yeah, we had a lot of discussion about that in the cooler this week. Just about people not thinking he should be a Hall of Famer at all. I kind of knew he would not get first. Yeah. I kind of knew he would not get first ballot Hall of Famer just because his brother got first ballot. I think the voters want to make a clear distinction between Peyton and Eli. Peyton first ballot, of course, no question. But to put Eli also first ballot, would a lot of people would have a lot of issues with equating that. So
Yeah, I saw somebody even talking about nepotism.
yeah,
Like,
like
he
come
had
on.
2 Super Bowls, nepotism. And people, I think honestly, again, whether you're first ballot or whether you eventually get in, I think can be subjective too. I don't think that, to me, it's a question of whether Eli should get in. Yes, he should get in.
Yes.
But should he get in on the first ballot? No. Why? Because he never led the league in anything of substance as a quarterback. Not
Agree.
passing yards, not passing touchdowns, not QBR, nothing. He just was always
No.
on the team. He won the Super Bowl. They got hot at the right minute, and they went on into the playoffs and did and by right did what they had to do. But he wasn't even really in the MVP conversation that much. It wasn't like Eli was that dude until it was time to go into the playoffs. So and yes, he got the Super Bowls, and that's going to get him into it, in my opinion. But when you look at the regular season, he wasn't the guy sitting there having 300, 400-yard games and all these different things. He wasn't doing that stuff.
No. And had he lost those Super Bowls to the Patriots, especially in bad fashion, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
At all.
But because he won those Super Bowls, and in large part it was his drives at the end of the game that won both of those Super Bowls, he kind of goes down in Giants history as the best quarterback ever for the New York Giants, and also the only Giant quarterback that's won it twice. And the teams that he won it against, one of them was undefeated. So, you're talking about legendary status. It gets no more legendary than the Super Bowl game, and he stepped up in both of those. He's like a double Joe Namath type dude.
Yeah.
Joe Namath stepped up real big in a big game, and he forever went down as a legend, even though his stats over his career were nothing to really celebrate, but he got into the Hall of Fame basically off that one game and a big prediction. So I think Eli should also get in off of his Super Bowl performances as well.
Yeah, oh no, absolutely. And that's the that's the thing. So I believe he'll eventually get in. He's just gonna have to wait just a little bit. That's all.
Yeah.
And it'll be okay. When you even look at the top passing leaders and things like that, Eli is number 11. He's behind Stafford, Marino, Matt Ryan, Aaron Rodgers, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, and Tom Brady. And I
Yeah.
bring that up because Anthony says Drew Brees will get in before Eli Manning. Probably. I just said he's number 2, 80,000 yards. Eli has 57. So
Yeah.
Drew came in 3 years before Eli and left 1 year after and has 23,000 more yards.
Breeze will definitely get in before Eli.
I agree. Absolutely. And I think he should.
And he should. Yeah, you're right.
But there was coming a little bit closer to home. There was another player outside of Luke Kuechly that was close to home that got snubbed on his first on his eligibility as a finalist, and that would be 189. Agent 89.
And Steve Smith is a little tricky. I believe he has a place in the Hall as well. It might be a few years.
I do too, yeah.
But he's kind of like that Torrey Holt type dude for the Rams. He's just gonna have to wait his time out. And Holt has a Super Bowl ring. Steve Smith went to one, but of course, does not have one. Or did he go to 2? I think he went to 2 Super Bowls. No, he only went to 1.
The one in Carolina,
yeah. But Smith was dominant at the position for several years on a bad team with bad quarterback play sometimes. But other than that, he's just going to have to wait out his time because he doesn't have that Super Bowl ring. He doesn't have that one shining moment that he could rely upon to get him in there. So his wait is going to be a Isaac Holt or a Torrey Holt or Isaac Bruce type wait. So
yeah, now I was going to Torrey Holt next because he also did not make it as well, even though he was on the list. I thought Torrey Holt was an interesting one as well, because he did get a Super Bowl, didn't he?
Yeah,
With
he
Kurt
has
Warner.
one. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, and then you see somebody also like Terrell Suggs, Fred Taylor, Reggie Wayne, Darren Woodson. Also not be able to make it. Those were some of the more notable ones. Even Adam Vinatieri was left off that list, which was interesting too. After all the years with the Patriots, it took his field goal to deny my Panthers a Super Bowl win. So, and he was always clutch. He was what was my kicker for the Ravens?
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he was him before he was him. It was Vinatieri. Was clutch.
Yeah, except Vinatieri's kicks were way easier.
Yeah, that's true. That's
I
true.
couldn't
Yeah,
stand all the props that he got.
He always came when he needed him. So he did it with the Patriots.
He did.
He did it with the Colts and did it with the Colts. So Anthony says Dez Bryant gonna have to wait a long time to get in like T.O. I mean, Dez Bryant is not getting in.
No, Dez Bryant is not getting in.
No.
To me, one of the most interesting names on that list is Frank Gore. What do you do with Frank Gore? Somebody just played a long time and set a lot of records, but where's his standout body of work at? He's just played a long time, right?
He would be in the Old Faithful Hall of Fame. Like you year after year where you said Frank's still playing. You look out there and they troll him out there, and you like, how the hell is this possible? I don't know. I thought he retired like 18 times. I'm like, damn, he's still playing. So yeah, he was definitely. Yeah, I agree with you. He's one of those where, what was he Hall of Fame worthy? No, but could you somehow honor his longevity in the league? Absolutely, because he definitely showed up every single year, and I don't think we just get a paycheck. He was productive in a lot of those years, But a lot of it was like short yardage stuff and things like that. It's really going to be kind of hard to quantify and things like that. But that was kind of interesting. The thing about the Hall of Fame is they like to protect the first balloters from the eventuals, and those that they think. Here's the thing, and I heard. I don't know if it was Cam or somebody else that said it. I hope it wasn't Cam that said it because Cam be saying too much sometimes anyway. Um, but they said when you say is such and such a first ballot Hall of Famer and you have to pause, then they probably not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like
Right.
when you say Tom Brady, no question. When you say
No
Drew Brees,
question.
no question. When you start looking at then some of these, when you say Peyton Manning, no question. When you start to say other guys, Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, mm, you know,
Nah.
it drops a little bit. Even when Stafford is going to be eligible, you're not going to say necessarily first ballot, but should he eventually get in? Probably. Um,
Yeah.
so when you start looking at when you say God knows asshole Aaron Rodgers, yeah, he probably gonna get in.
Yeah.
First ballot though, is he first ballot?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think he'll first ballot. I think Ben Roethlisberger will be first ballot because just Big
exactly.
Ben changed the game. So yeah, I
That's
think
true.
those two will
That's
be.
true. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, so when you say things like that, that's the difference between a first balloter and maybe somebody that will eventually get in. So I think a lot of these guys got an opportunity to get in, but they're just going to have to wait, and they may have to wait a couple of cycles because there's only so many that are going to be announced. So the ones that did get announced, we know were Eric Allen, Jared Allen, Antonio Gates, and Sterling Sharp.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I saw the Sterling Sharp announcement that Shannon got to do for his brother down in the basement, and that was a little that kind of choked it up a little bit too. So, but
Yeah.
congratulations to him. Yeah, he was having a really good career, and then he got cut because of that neck injury that he had gotten in '94. But yeah, he was killing it out there, man. Sterling Sharp was just he was that
He
dude.
was the man, no doubt. Yeah, he was the man.
Absolutely. Anthony says that's like Jason Witten, good player, but won't get in. Maybe he will because of the silver star he played for. I don't know. I think you gotta have more than that star on your helmet to get in. I don't think that's gonna necessarily push you up the ladder. Either you were that dude or you weren't that dude. And then he
Yeah,
said,
I don't have Clayton getting in.
I don't either. He says, you think the older quarterbacks are still playing to help themselves get in the Hall of Fame? No, because I think when you're an older quarterback, I think most of the things that made you that dude, you probably don't really have it anymore. And that's a good transition into the fact that Aaron Rodgers was notified by the New York Jets that they will be moving on from him.
Surprising.
So you are surprised.
Hell no, I'm not surprised.
I was gonna be like, well, hell, but did I miss something? Shit. I ain't surprised at all because
I ain't
um,
surprised at all.
I'm like, why would any new coach coming in want to tie himself to a relic of the past? If I'm gonna go down, it's gonna be because of people that I picked. It's gonna be because of the system I ran. I might not be able to run my system because I have to make it work for a 41-year-old quarterback.
Yeah, and on top of that, you might not even be able to employ 100% of your system because your quarterback
It's
don't agree with it.
that part too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, no, knowing that anytime he think that he can sit there and audible anything and decide, no, your play call don't make no damn sense. We're gonna do this.
Or go above your head to the GM or the owner even and have their ear about what's going on the field. No,
Yes,
no head coach wanted to like come in and have to deal with that, man.
right, right. There's one voice in this locker room, and it's mine.
Exactly.
So,
Give me my rookie quarterback.
yep, and because he's gonna have at least, I hope, Robert Sala excluded. he's going to have at least 2 to 3 years of a honeymoon period to be able to get this team where it needs to go. Um,
Yeah.
Now, the good thing about a rookie quarterback is the salary cap implications that comes along with that, because you're going to be able to then build some players around him that if you get right on your picks, you have an opportunity to build a team. So
Yep.
I'm not surprised at all, because at some point Aaron Rodgers has to realize that the more things, even though you were a great quarterback at one time, the more things that I have to put around you suffocates our salary cap. Like if and I know people get nostalgic when they see great players, and when they end up having really, really good games, it teases you into going, see, I knew he still had it. Yeah, but is he going to have it for the next game and the game after that and the game after that? Or is it going to be a hit or miss? Or when I'm going to need him to have it the most, he ain't going to have it. You know, Father
Yep.
Time is undefeated, and there's nothing wrong with saying at one point I was in the top three as far as quarterbacks in the league. If I wasn't number one, I was at least the top three. Those days have come, those days have gone, and his legacy is etched in stone. To your example, Anthony, he doesn't have to play any more years, is not going to push up his standing as far as a first ballot Hall of Fame. He could walk away right now, and it's not going to change his status. He could play another 2 years, and it's probably not going to change his status. It's going to be painful to watch him, kind of like what we did with Big Ben the last 2 years. It's going to be a little painful. But a lot of guys, you try to say, hey, they've earned the right to go out when they want to go out, but it's going to be a little painful. But it looks like, Rand, that there's talks that the Jets may be done with Rodgers, but Rodgers ain't done playing. And the way that they say that they know, they feel like that might be the case, is he literally flew black, not Aaron, flew back to New Jersey to take the meeting in the first place with Aaron Glenn and the coaching staff. And then that's when they notified him that they were not going to retain him. So he at least seemed interested enough about his position to go and have an in-person meeting, which may signal that he is definitely still interested in playing.
Yeah. I don't think the way he went out is the way he wants to go out. So he's definitely gonna come back and play for somebody else because he still has a chip on his shoulder and something to prove. Um, so yeah, he will be back. I'm hearing, every time there's a free agent or a quarterback out there, I get Pittsburgh attached to that. Uh, I'm just putting it out there. I won't have no problems. I mean, I want no parts of Aaron Rodgers on Pittsburgh. I don't even want Russell Wilson on Pittsburgh.
Right.
Just putting that out there.
Well, look, ain't no way in the world that Omar Epps is going to, Mike Tomlin is going to put up with no Aaron Rodgers mess. Whether he got to go into a dark room, or all that stuff, or you look up and he in the booth with the Roonies. That ain't happening, bruh. No, take your toxic ass somewhere else. Tomlin ain't going for that at all. At all. No. Rip off the Band-Aid. If you're at a point where you're not basically on the cusp of a Super Bowl, and you don't have a strong offensive line and a plethora of talent receiving core, whether it's receivers and tight ends, Aaron Rodgers is not going to help you get over that hump.
No,
But
he's too
but
immobile anyway.
right, but then if you put him on a team, say like the Cleveland Browns as an example, that doesn't make any sense because he's going to end up getting hurt. So you would really have to put him in a right position where he has ultimate protection to be out there to analyze the defense. He can't run. He can't extend plays with his legs like that anymore, like he did in Green Bay. Um, so you're going to have to create a situation around him that may stretch you out in other places. It's a high risk, low reward kind of situation. So I think it's going to be hard for him to latch on because it's not like you're going to be able to bring him in and say, "Hey, Aaron, you're going to have to compete for the starting job." He going to have to come in knowing he's the starter for him to come to anybody. So
Yeah,
I,
and I
I,
just
I just
don't know who they will.
I'm looking at the rosters and I'm going, Aaron Rodgers at this point has to be a plug and play. You know what I'm saying? Like number one, you don't have a lot of time with him. So he's got to be able to produce. How's he going to be able to produce? Can he move? No. Can he still make throws? Yes, with time. So you're going to have a team. Anthony says the Titans.
And that's who I said, Tennessee. Take his ass on down to Tennessee. Finish your career that way. That's like really one of the only teams I could think of. Maybe the Colts if they got given up on Richardson already. But outside of the Colts or Titans, I just don't know.
Yeah, okay. Those two are good. The only reason I didn't even think about those two, but those are two good ones, is they are so far right now from winning their division. Well, the Colts may be a little closer. That it would be hard for me to see him just on a mediocre team. And I don't.
But then you got to look at what playoff team would even risk who they are to have him.
None. That's what I'm saying. Chiefs, of course not. Eagles, no. Washington got one.
Hell.
Detroit got one. You know, I mean, when you start going tickering through the list of teams, I mean, what was he going to do? Go to San Francisco and bench Brock Purdy? No.
Nope.
Seattle? No. It's what playoff team is going to say, yeah, that's what we've been missing, because that's what the Jets thought. I'll just remind people of everybody kept saying the Jets were a quarterback away. Now, of course, when you had Zach, what's his name, and then you had Sam Darnold, and you had all these other guys, that may lead you to believe that quarterback was the biggest issue, and if you fix that with that defense, that they had a chance to do some stuff. And we all drunk that Kool-Aid and ended up not being anywhere remotely correct to that. But yeah, that's going to be a hard one. I don't see where Aaron Rodgers goes from this. If he goes to the Titans, it's going to be just because he wants to play and they're willing to pay him. It's not because putting him in as the quarterback is ultimately going to get you to the AFC Championship game. He's not the dude that's going to get. Now, if he's on the team when you get there, it's not going to necessarily be because he was on the team. It's going to be because of some of the other things that you have built around him. And it's just going to be coincidental he happened to be on the team. Anthony says the Saints. Absolutely the fuck. Hell no.
Nah.
I'm sorry.
You know, they would rather roll the dice with they would rather keep on rolling the dice with Spencer Rattler than to bring Rodgers.
And that's why I said that, Anthony, is that there's just so many teams that have heir apparents that they want to try. And here's the other reason that I say no with the Saints. The Saints play in a division that they know that as long as you can win anywhere between 9 and 10 games, you have a chance to win your division and put you into the playoffs. So the pressure on you to have to pull in an Aaron Rodgers for a win now situation isn't the same for a Detroit, a San Francisco, a Seattle, the Rams, a team like that, where you've got to be so competitive because your division is so competitive. The NFC South is just one of those divisions that all you got to do is win about 10 games, and that's all you need. And as long as you've got a decent young quarterback, I mean, you can build on that. So, and they have and again, you got a brand new coach in Kellen Moore coming in, whose offense. Now, the only way Aaron Rodgers would work, Kellen Moore, if he really leans into building an offensive line like in Philly, running the ball, quarterbacks taking opportunistic throws like Jalen Hurts did, yeah, Aaron Rodgers could work. But the problem is Aaron Rodgers going to be able to accept that role? Can Aaron Rodgers become
Yeah.
a 41-year-old Jalen Hurts? Hell, I think Jalen Hurts is a
Hmm.
65-year-old Jalen Hurts when you hear him talk. But anyway, but can Aaron Rodgers be that dude? That takes Aaron
Oh,
Rodgers really
see,
looking in the mirror. I don't know. I don't know when he looks in the mirror, does he see himself as a 41-year-old Jalen Hurts? And even I can't really even say Jalen Hurts because Jalen has the ability to run and still create problems for defenses with his legs. So I just mean in the version of not a lot, there's not going to be a lot of throws expected of me. Those games where he throws 40, 45 times would be over. He's going to throw 18 to 22 times. He's going to throw for um he's going to throw for 175 yards in some games. He may throw for 220 in other games, but those 300, 400-yard games would definitely be over. So I don't really see him going to the Saints like that, Anthony. Now could surprise me. I just don't think brand new coaches stepping into a job want that to come with them. I think they want a clean slate, start over new. You know, what's the point of me letting all the coaches go, me bringing my own coaches and stuff like that, and then bring in a 41-year-old quarterback with a lot of baggage that has seen better days? I don't see it. And you may be right though. So and if you are, you know, I'll shout you out and everything else like that. So but we will see. Like I said, we've got we've got March 15th, which is going to be the start of the new season. That's when you should see some teams get really aggressive in free agency. One team that I know that we probably won't see aggressive in free agency because they never are going to be them darn Dallas Cowboys. So that'll be interesting to see again another year where they're not being aggressive and trying to do everything through the draft. That is going to be crazy. I've heard talks of good landing spots because I think it's also been said too that the Cowboys could potentially go after Devontae Adams or Cooper Cup. It would make sense, but I don't see Jerry doing it because he wouldn't go after Derrick Henry. Why would he go after Devontae Adams or Cooper Cup, even though either one of those would be great additions to the Cowboys? Anthony says Cowboys might trade their star linebacker. Look, the only way you trade Micah Parsons is if somebody's willing to give you 3 number 1 picks. Period. Um, I mean, I've I've played with that scenario before, Anthony. I don't know how that helps them in the short run. If you get rid of Micah Parsons or you end up having to not pay Trayvon Diggs, um, I don't know what you're going to do with your team because you really will be fighting with the Giants for last in the NFC East. Um, Now, does the team need to do upgrade in other things? Yeah, they need a running back. They need a running game. They need a better offensive line, and you may have some players retiring. So I don't know if getting rid of Parsons, unless you need draft capital, is going to help you. The problem is that most of the years they get mired in mediocrity, and it pushes them out of draft status. I think this year they are picking where are the Cowboys? They're picking 12th. That's not a really bad spot, but they have a lot of needs. They need running back, they need offensive guard, they need defensive tackle, they need quarterback, and they need a linebacker. So they got to do
sorry about
something.
that.
Oh, you good? We're just talking about how the Cowboys are most likely not going to be a big participant in free agency, and I definitely don't see them doing a lot because Jerry has hung his hat on. Uh, He puts together the best teams because he drafts his people instead of acquiring players that have had histories with other teams. It's a crazy way to look at things. But then again, this is the same person that just said the other day, Jerry Jones, Brand, the owner, just said the other day, I don't even know how he can say it with a straight face, but he did. And I believe he believed what he said. This man said he was surprised that the Cowboys weren't in the Super Bowl. You know what the hell you have to be smoking to say something like that and mean it? He was surprised.
This dude is sounding like Joe Biden each day. More and more each day.
He said he was surprised. Like he just couldn't believe they won the Super Bowl. Wait, what? The Super Bowl? Well, I'm about to say the N-word. I'm about to say the N-word. You ain't been to the NFC Championship game in 30 years almost. How could you be surprised you ain't in the Super Bowl? Be surprised into the second round of the playoffs, bro. Oh. He said Dak's quote about the Eagles is worse. Well, see, I was trying to give Dak a little grace because somebody just asked him that question, and he was there for a charity event. And what would have been a right answer other than, hey, you know what, right now, we probably got a lot of things to address as a team. And it's our hope that based on some of the things that we do in the offseason, we'll get ourselves to a point where we can try to be competitive with the Eagles when we see them next time again. That is not what Dak said, and I get it. Dak said more to the fact of, well, yeah, we've been pretty competitive with the Eagles, so I think we're pretty much there with them.
Oh boy.
Is it something in Dallas, maybe, that you drink that make you say stuff like that? So yeah. What he said was just, you're like, wait, what?
Can we get Kamala Harris to take over the Cowboys?
Oh God,
damn.
that was the craziest thing. I'm sitting there going, wait a minute. Now Jerry done said this and Dak done said that, but I'm thinking, okay, maybe Dak just felt pressured to back his team. But look, bruh, we've seen your team. You don't have to sugarcoat it. We already know. And what we already know too is that if your team doesn't make a lot of changes and Washington adds a receiver, what if Washington goes out and gets some Myles Garrett? What if Washington goes and gets Devontae Adams? Could you see Devontae on one side and Terry McLaurin on the other side for Jaden Daniels?
Absolute hell.
And him throwing up them 50-50 balls.
Absolute hell.
Even my Eagles, I'd be like, y'all second. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna accept. I'm gonna accept and embrace reality. If they do that, and will they have the opportunity? Yes, because they have a rookie on a rookie deal. They've got money to spend. Dak is the highest paid as of right now quarterback in the league. And then you have a $34 million receiver in CeeDee Lamb. So Anthony, the only reason people are talking about the Cowboys might trade Micah Parsons is so that they can get more draft capital. They can get more out of him that way, but it doesn't improve the team. And Micah Parsons, whether he says some of the craziest things or not, is a transformative player at his position. There's no question about that. As much as I joke about the Cowboys, he is a dude. And you just cannot go into a draft and say, I'm going to pluck another Micah Parsons out of this draft. He is not one.
That window that the Cowboys had for reaching a conference championship or Super Bowl, that window is now officially closed.
It is. Thanks to the team at the Capitol. Because they're going to keep you down in your place. Unless they end up with one of the league's hardest schedules and they give the Cowboys a cookie schedule. But the problem still is going to be you're going to have to play Philly twice a year. You're going to have to play Washington twice a year. And right now that's 4 L's on your ledger. So you already gonna have to win, and if you can't win out and win 13 games. So now that's gonna reduce you back down to about 10 or 11 anyway. So um so that's just crazy. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up, Rand. But going out, we had a interesting Super Bowl. My Philadelphia Eagles played the Kansas City Chiefs, and man, they exposed the offensive line of the Kansas City Chiefs to the point that I don't think I've ever seen a team make a team look that bad and not blitz one damn time.
All I'll say to that game is the blueprint has been reestablished. You must build yourself a defensive line that has the ability to get to the quarterback without blitzing. And you must also build yourself an offensive line that's able to protect and make holes for your running back. The blueprint is now out for the rest of the league, and the Eagles have established that. Congratulations, by the way.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. You can honestly see that even with Saquon Barkley not leading his team in rushing, because Jalen Hurts found plenty of holes and started running, which he saved his running for the Super Bowl, which was good. 11 carries, 72 yards. Saquon still got a couple of good runs in, but none of them were like the big breakaways. But he carried the ball 25 times, 57 yards, only 2.3 yards a carry. But what that did was it helped with time of possession. It kept the ball out of the other team's hands. When you look at them converting it on third down, they didn't have a lot of third down conversions. They were 3 for 12. Kansas City was 3 for 11. But it was the first downs. It was 21-12. There was a point when the score was 24-0, where the Eagles had 24 points and the Chiefs only had 23 total yards.
Yeah, they are just dominant in the trenches. Every team wants to be like that now, including my Carolina Panthers. And that's what every team will now be shooting for. That defensive line has a bunch of dogs, literally from Georgia dogs, and that offensive line is massive, man. So
Yes.
yeah,
and then
props
on
to the Eagles.
Yeah, the Chiefs offensive line was just Swiss cheese.
Yeah,
Patrick Mahomes could never get comfortable behind the line. We were watching the game going, man, these are some of the craziest throws that we've ever seen him do. And a lot of it was just simply the fact that he didn't have time. Every time he looked up, there was a defender in his face. And people were surprised that even when players looked at Mahomes, they didn't get a flag for it. And I think that there probably was a little bit of an emphasis that, hey, we can't get accused of none of them shenanigans. Like, this game gonna have to be called straight up. Jermaine says, I think the Chiefs looked exactly like they did all season, minus the terrible offensive line play. I would agree. They haven't been explosive on offense at all. Kelsey hasn't been elite at all. They just got things done, maybe getting some calls along the way, but the Chiefs have not been mind blowing at all this season. No, they just end up finding ways to win at the end. And think about it. They could have lost that game to the Panthers had Mahomes not broke free running the ball. They had another game right before the Panthers that they barely won. That it was like, wait a minute. It's just this one play that somehow saves them. Remember another game that they won that they should have lost was because they ended up blocking a field goal at the end of the game. And that's how they end up winning that game. So, Jermaine, you're absolutely right. The Chiefs weren't blowing anybody away by any. They had no explosive plays and things like that. Kelsey is getting older and older, and he has not come out yet to say if he's coming back next season. Travis, bro, you ain't got nothing else to prove. Go on and take care of that flat butt girl you got. And I mean, it's all good. It's all good, bro. You did what you came to do. You and your brother have a great opportunity outside of football that can still be related to football, but you do not have to put your body through anything else on the field. You ain't got nothing to prove. And if the Chiefs bring you back too, or if you come back, they probably gonna ask you to take a little bit of a haircut too. It's gonna be that.
Go back to the brother version of Kelsey.
Yeah.
Yep. But B, I got to get out of here, man. Season 5 in the books, I think. Be back for season 6.
Yes, sir.
It's been a blast. I will see you guys in August when we're doing the preview for the NFL season. Let's get it on, man. Ready to rumble, bro.
Get it on. With that said, thank you everybody for giving us a wonderful season 5. We will see y'all again in season 6. Y'all take care. Peace out.